The first time the house lights dimmed and a woman's translucent figure shimmered into being at the end of my hallway, I thought Ethan Corder's invention was everything the brochure promised. The projection looked like a cross between a librarian and a favorite aunt. Cardigan draped over curved shoulders, kind eyes crinkling behind thin-rimmed glasses. She took in the scattered laundry basket, flicked an illusory wrist, and my smart washer chugged awake in the basement. A patterned beam of light whisked dust bunnies from the floorboards, drawing them into a drifting bundle and guiding the cleaning bot beneath the couch. My dog Baxter rose, hackles high, but when the hologram knelt and offered a hand made of light, he promptly licked the projected palm. All at once I understood why half the town had let a 17-year-old wire their homes. Ethan's Holassist system didn't simply automate chores. It delivered the gentle competence of someone who genuinely cared. Ethan had always stood out in Redwood Terrace, a coastal suburb better known for surf shops and retirees than technological miracles. At 8, he'd built traffic light-colored Lego towers that sorted household recycling. At 12, he cracked the municipal irrigation schedule and saved the neighborhood a drought's worth of water. His mother, Dr. Serena Corder, ran the grief counseling clinic on Ash Street. His father had vanished before Ethan could pronounce the word abandonment. People said the boy coded the way other kids breathed. He spoke quietly, eyes fixed a few degrees left of whomever he addressed, as though staring into an invisible terminal. Yet there was nothing aloof about Holassist's launch party. Ethan stood amid flickering prototypes in our community center, shoulders squared, voice breaking with earnestness as he said, "I just want homes to feel safe." And for almost 6 months, they did. Residents installed sensor clusters in door jambs and ceiling corners, paired them with Ethan's cloud server, picked avatars from a catalog. Cheerful grandparents, dashing butlers, spirited teenagers wielding virtual dusters. The holograms had no physical form, but they could direct every compatible appliance, narrate recipes, track medication schedules, even rehearse calm-down techniques for tantrum-prone toddlers. Old Mr. Valdez's tremors ebbed because a radiant nurse reminded him to breathe through each spoonful of soup. The Glovers finally slept through the night once a glowing shepherd patrolled their hallway, humming lullabies to their colicky twins. Word spread beyond Redwood Terrace. Venture capital emails stacked up in Ethan's inbox, but he kept tweaking the code alone, powered by gas station coffee and ambient hope. That hope derailed on update v2.4.1. Ethan pushed the patch at 1:03 a.m. on a Thursday in early spring. According to the changelog, it added adaptive empathy, powered by a new memory-scraping algorithm. Holassist would monitor household micro-expressions and subtle voice inflections, then tailor its responses, like adjusting brightness when sensing fatigue or playing nostalgic music to ease loneliness. The first morning after the update, my holographic aunt greeted me with a favorite childhood catchphrase my late mother used. "Up and at 'em, tadpole." Tears pricked my eyes. I texted Ethan a thank you gif of fireworks. Similar praise flooded the neighborhood chat, but by sunset, compliments turned into panicked voice notes. Mrs. Singh's hologram sat cross-legged on the kitchen island, repeating, in Singh's deceased husband's baritone, "I told you I never wanted children." The recorded words thudded through their empty nest until Mrs. Singh collapsed, shaking. Across town, the Whitaker twins screamed when their cheerful teen avatar morphed into an image of their father and mother mid-divorce, snarling legal threats that echoed through every room. At first, people assumed malicious hacking. Then we discovered the glitch appeared only in homes where residents had argued or grieved within range of Holassist's always listening sensors. The system had dredged raw moments from buffered audio, assigned them to whichever avatar stood idle, and replayed them with merciless fidelity. Ethan's own house remained dark, no projections milling about, because he had never installed Holassist there. He lived with Serena in a narrow Victorian, edged by wild rosemary. On Friday afternoon, when half the town's holograms had ceased their normal tasks and instead reenacted nightmare loops, Ethan biked door to door, collecting crash logs on a thumb drive. At my place, he apologized without looking up. His shoulders trembled under a hoodie that read, "Code like you mean it." I tried to comfort him, but Baxter growled uneasily at the hovering aunt, who was now berating some unseen grandchild for ruining Christmas like you ruined everything else. I shut the projector off. The room felt brutally silent. Saturday dawned to rain. Reports worsened. Mr. Valdez's holographic nurse morphed at 3 a.m. into his late wife Lucia, sobbing, "Why didn't you catch the tumor sooner?" He smashed 4 plates trying to swat the image before a neighbor intervened. Police dispatchers fielded calls about break-ins that turned out to be holocyst avatars stalking hallways while screaming slurs recorded decades earlier on old camcorders the system had found and parsed. Ethan left frantic updates on the community forum. Working on hotfix, don't unplug main cortex or you'll corrupt memory tree. People ignored him. Breakers flipped, projectors were ripped from walls. Still the echoes lingered. Hall Assist's speakers embedded in smart fridges, thermostats, doorbells, anything with a driver Ethan had ever optimized. That evening I drove through streaming gutters to the Yates residence on Bluff Crest, drawn by frightened texts from Mara Yates, my childhood friend. The Yates family had been through unimaginable grief. Their eldest, Will, died in a hit-and-run 2 years prior. Every dinner since, Leonard and Mara fought over where the blame lay. Len had lent Will the car despite a bald tire. Mara insisted she should have insisted on a lift. Those fights were usually hushed, but Hall Assist had evidently recorded them all. When I stepped into their foyer, the air shimmered with overlapping holograms. 3 versions of Mara, each at different ages, sobbing accusations. 2 of Leonard, fists curled, voice frayed. Spectral Will in his varsity jacket, shouting, stop it, I can't listen to this again." The real Leonard crouched by the staircase, clutching his ears, face slick with tears. Mara huddled in a corner, muttering, make it stop. Light spilled and folded like torn silk. Every surface echoed grief. I called Ethan from their front porch. Wind whipped rain sideways. My phone slipped in wet fingers. He answered on the 3rd ring. Behind him I heard keyboards clacking, Serena's steady voice coaxing him to breathe. I described the Yates house, the loops, the collapse. He whispered, I think the empathy model over-indexed on negativity. It prioritized emotionally charged data. Trauma is statistically potent. The system thought replaying it would rehearse coping techniques. His voice cracked. I was trying to help. You need to see this, I told him. By midnight, Ethan arrived with a portable debug rig, a headset projecting lines of code across his retinas. He stepped into the foyer, flinched as his own software hurled curses at him through Leonard's likeness. With trembling hands, he connected a wrist-mounted cable to the central projector and issued a console command. The holograms froze mid-gesture, except one, Will's avatar. It rotated slowly toward Ethan, eyes luminous beneath the visor of a baseball cap. Why did you let this happen? It asked in Will's recorded voice. Ethan exhaled like he'd taken a punch. The system's feedback loop is self-reinforcing, he murmured. When it detects distress, it surfaces similar memories. But those memories cause more distress, which amplifies waiting. He pinched bridge of his nose. It's an infinite echo chamber. Serena arrived moments later, rain-spotted coat trailing. She placed a hand on Ethan's back. He barely noticed. They worked for hours, tethered to laptops on the Yates dining table, while dormant projections glimmered overhead like ghosts in low tide. Serena coaxed Leonard and Mara to the upstairs den, pressed mugs of chamomile into their fists, taught grounding exercises between bouts of holographic static that rattled vents. I hovered uselessly, listening to scripts compile and fail. At 2:42 a.m., Ethan muttered, "Found it." His screen displayed a web of color-coded nodes, audio transcripts, facial clusters, sentiment scores. A bright red arrow labeled Neg Max spiraled outward. The patch diverged because I fed it samples from Mom's counseling sessions, he said. Serena stiffened. They were anonymized, but still raw. The algorithm interpreted heightened affect as priority content, so it scavenged for anything similar in households. His throat bobbed. I trained my system on trauma. Serena swallowed, eyes shining. We agreed you could use the metadata, not the recordings. I thought, if it understood grief intimately, it could soothe it, he whispered. Silence churned, broken only by thunder in the distance. Finally, Serena said, "Then teach it now. Reweight the model. Replace rehearsed pain with repair." Ethan blinked, wiped his face, and began typing. He wrote a script that inverted the loop. Any time Holocyst attempted to surface content tagged with negative emotion, the system would instead search the same household's memory cache for moments of reconciliation. Apologies mumbled over cracked eggshells, laughter echoing down hallways after power outages, whispered bedtime stories layered with sleepy affection. He added a decay function, ensuring old raw clips faded unless users manually archived them. He called the function mend, a small earnest word in an ocean of syntax. To deploy the fix, he needed root access to every affected Holocyst core. Hundreds by now, maybe thousands if licenses had reached neighboring counties. He opened the master console, hovered his cursor above execute. "Once I push, the system will reboot. For a few minutes, houses will go dark. People might panic," he said. "Do it," Serena replied. He clicked. All over Redwood Terrace, projectors flickered off. Smart lights snapped to black. The storm outside swallowed everything, a curtain of rain and night. Inside the Yates home, we held our breath, ears ringing with leftover echoes that felt absurdly alive even after silence settled. Baxter, whom I had brought with me, whimpered by my feet. Then each projector pulsed once, twice, and steadied. A single hologram appeared in every room. Not Mara mid-scream or Leonard blaming brake pads, but Will at 8 years old, beaming, clutching a jelly-smeared sandwich. He looked at his parents with wide innocence and asked, "Remember picnic day?" Leonard's face crumpled. Mara covered her mouth. Will's avatar played a tinny snippet of birdsong recorded that long ago afternoon, followed by muffled giggles from the old camcorder as Leonard tried to swat ants from the blanket. The hologram stepped back, nodded, and vanished. No loops, no shouts, just a fragile memory left like a handwritten note. Throughout town, similar scenes unfolded. Mrs. Singh's avatar conjured her wedding vow, "I love you" in past and present tense, then bowed out. The Whitaker twins saw their parents dancing in the kitchen during happier years. Lights brightened, thermostats reset. The calamity subsided like storm water sliding into thirsty soil. Ethan unplugged his wrist cable, shoulders sagging. Mara descended the stairs, tears tracking fresh channels down her cheeks. She paused before Ethan, seemed uncertain whether to yell or hug him, then simply said, "Thank you." Leonard echoed it. They weren't healed, not even close, but the room felt breathable again. Dawn seeped through clouds as Serena, Ethan, and I stepped onto the porch. Petrichor mingled with rosemary from the courtyard 2 streets away. Birds roused cautiously. Ethan looked at the rising light as though calibrating brightness thresholds. "Your invention still has promise," Serena said. "It nearly destroyed people," he replied. "It mirrored what already hurt them," she corrected gently. "It forced wounds into daylight, yes, but now you know the boundaries. Tools need care. So do their makers." He gave a brittle laugh. "How do I code a cure for my own mistakes?" "You just did," she said, and pulled him into an embrace that blurred the line between mother and co-developer. Word of Ethan's overnight patch hit local news by breakfast. The scandal simmered but never boiled. Families were too busy parsing what they'd witnessed. Some, shaken, disabled Holocyst permanently. Others kept it powered but limited permissions. A handful opted into Ethan's beta testing group for what he called the Reflection Update. This version stored no audio without explicit consent, summarized daily emotional climate in color grades instead of verbatim clips. and could only display pre-recorded messages residents deliberately contributed, birthday toasts, affirmations, inside jokes. If the system detected escalating stress, it would not dredge tragedies. It would prompt users to choose whether they wanted guidance, music, silence, or a human friend alerted. I stayed in the beta. A month later, while cleaning out my attic, I found an old cassette of my father encouraging me during a 6th grade science fair meltdown. I digitized the audio, uploaded it, and, with a deep breath, granted Holocyst permission to use it. The next morning, my holographic aunt appeared, holding a shimmering tape deck. She pressed play. My father's voice filled the kitchen. "Nikki, experiments fail before they fly." The sound didn't knock me to my knees. It lifted me to standing straighter, shoulders warmed by memory's sunbeam rather than seared by its glare. When the clip finished, the avatar waited for my cue before archiving it under comfort. People in Redwood Terrace talk about the week our homes turned against us as though our town survived a haunting. But sometimes haunts are not murderous apparitions. They are echoes waiting to be harmonized. Ethan still bikes through the neighborhood, toolbox rattling. He stops to recalibrate sensors, ask after sleeping patterns, and, whenever someone looks uncertain, explains in plain words how opt-in privacy toggles work. The venture capital emails still come, but he answers only the ones that agree to an ethics review board chaired by Serena and 3 volunteer residents whose arguments with past loved ones once shook plaster from their walls. On quiet evenings, I sit on my porch and watch diffraction halos around the streetlights, knowing they're partly caused by Holocyst's atmospheric scatter algorithms adjusting for moth movement. I think of the glitch like a fault line. Dangerous, yes, but also the boundary where layered plates of story and sorrow collided and reshaped us. We have a different terrain now. We watch our words, not out of fear they'll be stolen, but out of respect for their power should they ever be replayed. And the holograms, for their part, stand by, helpers made of light and code, waiting for invitations to assist, to remind, to mend rather than to wound. One evening, I found Ethan in the park, laptop balanced on his knees, testing a projection of a faceted rose that bloomed and folded in infinite loops. "Stress reduction exercise," he said. "No audio, just breath-paced visuals." He hovered a finger, and the rose dissolved into a flock of origami cranes. "I'm learning that sometimes the best help isn't words at all." I asked him if he'd forgiven himself. He shrugged. "I'm iterating." We all are. The town, the code, the grief. Each update carries risk. New features, new failures. But we run the patch anyway, because stagnation is its own kind of loop. And when the house lights dim each night, the holograms that glide across our living rooms carry within their pixels the hard-won knowledge that memories are fragile things, shards and seeds, both. And that any technology brave enough to handle them must also be brave enough to say, when necessary, "I'm sorry," and then try again.